Hello, and in this video we're going to be doing Lazysysadmin by Toggy. As you can see, it's rated beginner to intermediate, and it's created out of his failed OSCP exam attempt. So take from that what you want, and it's going to help us learn our Linux privilege escalation and other skills like that. So I've run a net discover again, and you can see it's grabbed the IP.130. So we're going to go ahead and run a port scan. Standard options, we just want it to be pretty fast, but at the same time full TCP and verbose. So we'll go ahead and do that. And again, I'm using a host-only network. I promise I'll get rid of the watermark by the next video. I haven't gotten around to buying the software yet. Still considering the different kinds of screen recording software that I could use. So you can see we have a bunch of ports. 80, so that's probably a web server. 445, probably SMB, and 22, SSH probably. So we're going to go ahead and run more enumeration on those. Open up a new terminal, and now we got all the service versions. You can see on port 6667, an IRC server. We're going to just try a quick search exploit, see if there's an easy CVE we can leverage, and no results. That's okay. We'll continue our enumeration with derb. And again, I'm going to be using the big.txt word list. It seems like for these boxes, that one is suitable enough, especially since there aren't any crazy directory names or anything like that. And you can see a bunch of stuff is already returned. I'm going to go ahead and stop it because it says all the directories are pretty much listable, meaning we can see the files inside, so we don't need derb to enter inside them. So we have an Apache directory, phpMyAdmin, WordPress, test, old, a bunch of things. So before we check out the website manually, we're going to run neatdil. And again, this is just in case it identifies something that we perhaps miss in our manual reconnaissance or with derb. Now we're going to poke around the website manually. So you can see it's pretty empty. There's some jokes on here about not caring and stuff like that. The buttons don't really work at all either. And there's a nice quote from Thomas Edison. But we do know there were several directories that derb found, so we're going to go ahead and check those out. So phpMyAdmin. Sorry about the username I left in there from when I did the box earlier, but we just try admin password, and no dice. So on to the next directory. That seems kind of interesting. And you can see test is just empty. Directory listing, but there's no files inside. Same thing with Apache. And same thing with WP. So we're going to check out the WordPress directory. And sure enough, we have a WordPress site. So it looks pretty empty, except my name is Toggy, so we have a username. And we could run WP scan, but I think we can get by with just looking around. As you can see, there's a user named admin. So that's one way of finding a username. We'll show another in just a second. Now we're going to check out WP admin, and there's this interesting feature with WordPress where it tells you whether a valid username or not. And you can see the password you entered for the username admin is incorrect, meaning admin isn't a username. If we type John, like some random username, it says invalid username. So that's information disclosure. Always check for it with WordPress just in case. So we try admin password, admin 1234, you never know. The box is called Lazysysadmin, so whatever works. And we're not getting anywhere with this WordPress site, so we're going to check out the SMB server. That RFI caught my attention, but it's probably I've seen that kind of thing before. It's usually a false positive. So we're going to open up a new terminal and use an nmap script to enumerate the shares on the SMB server, and we're going to see whether they have anonymous access or not. So there's the syntax right there, and the IP address. And basically what we want to do is we want to potentially read any sensitive files that the sysadmin may have left open to the entire internet, or at least the local area network. And you can see we have 3 shares. One is IPC. I see that on every SMB server. I don't know why I don't know what it is, to be honest. Print, which has no anonymous access, but this share called share. It's kind of ironic, with read and write anonymous access. So we're going to use SMB client with the backslashes. I think those are backslashes. The weird ones, the non-Linux ones. There's a syntax right there, and then the share name. And when prompted for a password, just hit enter, because we have anonymous access. List the files inside, and you see a bunch of stuff. So if you notice that a directory WordPress, it looks like we have access to the web root, so we're definitely going to want to check that out. And now we can use the command get to transfer a file from the share to our home directory. So if we get to-do list.txt, you can see it transfers, and we can view it. And it says prevent users from being able to view the web root using the local file browser. So that's exactly what we're going to do in just a second. Get deeds.txt. Again, it transfers. See what's inside. And we have a password. So this password could either be for the WordPress user, or it could be for maybe an SSH user. We're going to try it here, 12345 on the admin account. No dice, so we're going to continue with our enumeration of the share. We're going to change our directory to the web root WordPress, see what's inside. And there's a lot of scripts, but one thing that caught my eye was the config file. Whenever you see a config file in general, either on your privilege escalation or on your enumeration such as this, it's a good idea to see what's inside, transfer it, just in case. And if we go ahead and view that on our box, there's a lot of stuff in here. Scroll up, added by Toggy, so we again verify that user. And if you look up here, you can see a password, MySQL database password. And now at this point, we could either log into the database, but there's not really much we're going to leverage off of the MySQL database. We want to log in somewhere more significant, like the WordPress site. So we'll see if they reuse the password for the admin user. Maybe they will. It's good to try, considering the box is named Lazysysadmin. And it's being slow. That's probably a good sign. And we get logged in. So at this point, I tried a ton of different ways to shell this web server when I did the box. I tried editing plugins, editing themes. I got command execution. For some reason, the short reverse shells weren't working. Like I tried editing the 404 page of a theme, as you can see here. So that's a CSS file, but if you look at the templates, you can edit the 404 template and add PHP code. So I tried a whole bunch of stuff. I added like parameters that would execute on it, stuff like that. Nothing was really working, but it's good to try just in case, because if you ever can edit PHP on the web server, that's usually an easy way in. And I'm sure it's possible to leverage this PHP file right here, or maybe the plugins, to gain code execution. I just ended up doing it another way, but here you can see, I'll just show my process just because it could work on another box very easily. I tried using this bash one-liner, and I don't have host to guest copying on, so I can't copy paste it. I'll turn that on for the next time. So maybe like the system command function isn't allowed. Maybe the box this invocation of bash just doesn't work on this server. A whole number of issues, but I tried using this. Trying is the first step to either success or failure, so why not, you know. Then we start a netcat listener. Listen on port 4444, verbose. Update the file. Now we want to cause a 404. And I fast forwarded. This is me. At this point I've been editing this PHP file for a while, trying to get a shell from it. You can see I added a URL parameter which would pass the input to shell underscore exec. I could do things like view and read files, but I couldn't find a way to leverage it to get a shell. I'm sure there's some way, for sure. I just wasn't thinking of it. So at this point I decided to take another route. The box is called Lazysysadmin. So what if they use the password in multiple places? Like, I remembered the port scan. We had OpenSSH. So maybe we can leverage it there. So at this point I was pretty fed up with the web server. I wasn't getting a shell from it, although I'm sure it was possible. So I decided to try SSHing in as Toggy with the password we found from the config file in the share. Yes, we want to connect. We wait for our prompt. And then I tried the password 12345, and sure enough, we get a shell. So, who am I? We're Toggy. Check the kernel, because if it's outdated, that's an easy win right away for root. Looks pretty good, 4.4. And you notice we're in a restricted bash shell. That's what rbash means. So we could try jail escapes, but we should check out our sudo privileges first. And you see we can run every single command as root on this server. So I did that, sudo su, we're root. We go to the root directory, and this is very much a lazy sysadmin, I'll tell you that. And we get some random strings that are supposed to be flags. And the file's named proof.txt. That's a kind of a wink to the OSCP. So I hope you guys learned something, and we got some random strings, and I'll get rid of the watermark for next video for sure. See you later.